Hello, Jordan. I hope you enjoyed this video. I made it just for you. Welcome to the exact same challenge I did for Paper Mario 64. And if you haven't watched that one, how dare you. But this time, we're doing it for the sequel, Paper Mario 1000-Year Door. Funnily enough, I recorded this entire challenge before the remake was announced. Why did it take so long for me to actually finish this video?
Congratulations!
Anyway, despite having the exact same gameplay, well, not really, T2ID is an entirely different beast compared to 64. There are lots of changes and tweaks to the mechanics, making for a way more random and a way harder experience. Random stage hazards, random targeting, random boss AI,
Release the psych, baby!
random held items and badges.
I live!
The game really tries its best to make you take at least some damage. But for now, let's just start the run. I start my file naming it Herd Bad. We get dropped off at Rockport Harbor where our first battle takes place. Now let me show you something. This is a Super Guard. It's a harder defensive action command that you can always do by pressing the B button. A Super Guard always negates all damage. Sure, they're harder to pull off, but with enough skill, you can get them down. So is it possible to beat T2ID without taking damage? Yes. But that's no fun. So this will be the last battle I'll allow Super Guards in, if not only to show an absolutely safe way to beat it. Crump only has one attack. If you select the defend command, he can't do anything. Now you're free to keep doing this until you hit 5 Super Guards. We meet up with Frankly, and while walking to the titular 1000-Year Door, we get stopped by a couple of guys with good taste in women, honestly. The only one out of these guys that can hurt you is the Spiky Goomba, since he has 2 attack power. Goombella just needs to defeat the front guy, and then Mario can hammer the spike guy. Alright. After our archaeological excursion, Frankly hands us a Power Smash badge. A badge you can immediately replace by walking over one screen and buying Power Jump. I also decide to pick up Simplifier. It's not nearly as good as Dodge Master in 64. Having one of them doesn't even increase your guard window. Why the fuck did I even pick it up then? There's also this guy, Dazzle. He has quite a few useful badges, but for now, I'm only picking up Chill Out. Chill Out works like Chill Out from Paper Mario 64, but not like Chill Out from Paper Mario 64. T2ID only has Chill Out, not Chill Out. Sadly. Now one more enemy stands between us and Chapter 1. Blooper. All of his attacks do only 1 damage, so you're fine as long as you guard. You could also just not worry about any of that and destroy him with a Fire Flower. Our fried calamari dinner flies away, and we move on to Chapter 1. The first half of Chapter 1 doesn't really have anything of note. Enemies are easily taken care of, and Chill Out protects me from first strikes. Against the Little Fortress battles, you could pull the same strat as Lord Crump, but I can't Super Guard, so I had to settle for a POW block. Pretty nice, since the game gives you a couple for free. Hey, sorry I look like shit, but I was editing right now, and I noticed I just flat out didn't mention Gold Fuzzy. Yeah, it just comes down to guarding, because all the fuzzies only have 1 attack power. Oh well. And as we leave for Hooktail Castle, Koops joins our party. Koops is awesome. This absolute mad lad has 1 extra point of defense. It may not seem like much, but it'll really help out. For now, it also protects him against all stage hazards, which is incredibly helpful to avoid random resets. Since I have a couple more star pieces now, I also return to Dazzle to pick up Peekaboo. I usually don't get the opportunity to tattle enemies. I don't outright need to see enemy HP, but it looks nicer for the video. No problem. At least it's only 2 BP in T2ID. Inside of Hooktail Castle, we run into our first problem spot. Attack power is generally higher in T2ID compared to 64. Red Bones already has 3 attack power, so not even Koops is safe from him. And even if he was, they can randomly decide to attack Mario instead. Thankfully, all you need to do is defeat them before they get to attack. And that's an easy task. Now nothing stands between us and the boss of this chapter. Hooktail. An absolute menace. Hooktail has 20 HP, 5 attack power, and 1 defense. That is way too much. Let's lower it a little. Most of you probably know Hooktail has a weakness. That weakness is Attack Effects R. I understand. I hate it too. When you have Attack Effects R equipped, every time the sound triggers, Hooktail's attack power will lower by 1 until she only has a 1 lift. You can very easily accomplish this on the very first turn by using Power Bounce. Then all you need to do is guard their attacks. You can even put Koops in front, and then you only need to worry about the breath. After the scene which makes me really wonder how this game got an E rating, the battle ends with no damage taken. End of chapter. Back in Petalburg, I pick up the best badge in the game, Mega Rush P, which is completely useless.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Luckily, we do get a badge that's a bit more useful right before entering chapter 2. And again, damage dodge isn't nearly as useful as it was in 64. I'll get into why later. Maybe. I don't know even if I will. I wrote the script fucking months ago. I hope I get into it. The only enemies in this chapter with more than 2 attack power are the X-Nauts, so damage dodge is a great safety option. Now, one more thing before we get on to the boss encounters. You really want to upgrade Koops for this chapter. Along with the Power Plus P from Dazzle, Power Shell absolutely sweeps most of the regular enemies in this chapter. It's great. Yeah, I stand Best Boy Koops. What about it? You also get P down the P in this chapter, which is weirdly early for such a specific niche badge. Anyway, the Shadow Sirens. Okay, so this might seem like your run-of-the-mill mini-boss, but this is the perfect time to talk about a couple of aspects that make T2ID way more of a headache than it needs to be for a damageless run. Number 1, piercing attacks. There are a number of attacks throughout the game that ignore your defense. They're usually elemental and beam-like attacks. The only way you can reduce damage from these is with a P down D up. Not even damage dodge is gonna help. Number 2, unguardable attacks. There aren't many of these in the game, but this battle has 2 of them. Vivian's Fiery Jinx and Marilyn's Lightning. Yes, for some reason you can guard Beldam's Ice Storm. And number 3, random behavior. Most enemies have multiple attacks and use those randomly on a random target, either the front or the back. This means both Mario and his partner need to be prepared to nullify all the damage. Speaking of randomness, while the Shadow Sirens might feel random, they can be pretty easily manipulated. As long as you have Koops out and a damage dodge for Mario, their regular attacks won't be able to touch you. Marilyn can charge, but she will never do that on the first turn. Then what about their special attacks? Don't they pierce? Interestingly enough, they will only use them under very specific circumstances. Whenever any of them fall below half HP, Beldam will complain about it, which triggers them to use their special attack. However, when Beldam falls below half, all 3 of them will use their special attack. This also means if you defeat Beldam on the very first turn, she can never complain, so the other 2 will never use their unguardable specials. Problem solved. Inside of the tree, there isn't much to note. There's this damage HP, always nice, and a charge. Yeah, okay, this badge is pretty fun.
Koopas.
But I guess I'll use this time to talk about Flurry, and by extension, Gale Force. We need to talk about something. And you might have left a comment about this already. Don't worry, I understand. But you may have noticed that enemy is holding a badge. Enemies can randomly hold and drop these. But not only would farming them not really be in the spirit of this challenge, it would also take way too much fucking time. fuck was that? Anyway, Gale Force. It is unreliably awesome. It's awesome if enemies are super vulnerable to it. If not, well, you better have a good emergency plan. Never rely on it to solve all your problems. Now let's solve this problem. Magnus von Grapple. He has 2 attack power. Awesome. He also has fists with 4 attack power. Irrelevant. His Quake is a piercing attack. Fuck. Here's the fun part. Magnus will only use his stomp attack until he reaches 20 HP. Then he'll release his fists and start using the Quake. So this boss is honestly just as simple as charging and guarding. Poor guy never stood a chance. The chapter ends without a scratch, and Mario gets ready for the next and best chapter. Okay, I may have lied a little. This chapter is great, but not in this challenge. All thanks to this guy.
You can't afford these sunglasses.
While this chapter's just a bunch of battles you can prepare for, sometimes Grubba can decide to make things just a bit more annoying than they should be. Or, you know, tell you to take damage.
And you're not really fun, but you just can't get into it.
Some eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed I'm wearing a different shirt. Yeah, I am. It's a new day. The minor league battles aren't much of an issue. You should be able to defeat these enemies before they get to attack. Not only do you have Earth Drummer and items, the fact that you get a second power plus P outside makes Coots? I love him. Koopa in his young days. The fact that you get a second power plus P outside makes Scoops a force to be reckoned with. Of course, all of that changes once you reach the Armored Harriers, the notorious ruiners of all challenge runs. You can only beat them using Yoshi's Gulp attack, and the battle is a forced loss the first time you face him. Luckily, you can just run away, after which Yoshi hatches. However, we are not out of the woods yet. Both Clefts have 6 HP, and Yoshi only has 4 attack power, 5 if you upgrade him to Super Rank. Even with Power Plus P, only the first hit of Gulp gets powered up. But why is this a problem? Can't we just stack up on defense with a Courage Shell or something? Nope. The Harriers attacks pierce defense, making it impossible to avoid their damage. But wait, Koops has Shell Shield, which absorbs hits for Mario. Nope, still won't work. The Shell's HP maxes out at 8, so Yoshi will never get the chance to come in and attack. So, now what? Am I really supposed to rely on the 50% dodge of a Repel Cape? That's no fun. Oh, what if I told you there is a way to guarantee you'll avoid all their damage? Let me introduce you to my man Charlieton. This guy sells a couple of random items, one of which happens to be a boo sheet. That's right, you get a single boo sheet at this point, and that's all we'll need to move on to the Major League. Besides a couple of harsher Grubba conditions, the Major League battles aren't all that difficult. Most of the time you should be able to defeat them on the first turn. Or, you know, just done them with Clock Out. Oh yeah, Clock Out is insane by the way. On top of Stop being a great status, Clock Out has a 1.25 modifier of success rate. So even at 80% susceptibility, enemies will always be affected. All is well and good until the Armored Harriers run in demanding for a rematch. But this time, we're boo sheetless. Oh well, since this isn't an official match, you can just run away and it won't affect your ranking. A bit later, Bowser also shows up randomly demanding for a match. But of course, since this is an unofficial match, you can just run and fight him. Bowser has 3 attack power and 3 different moves, one of which, his Fire Breath, hits both characters and pierces defense. How do we get around this? Simple. Shrink. Shrink lowers attack power by 2, which nullifies Bowser's attack as long as you guard. While Bowser is only 75% susceptible to Shrink, our boy Phil here... I forgot to name my Yoshi Phil. Why did I do that? While Bowser is only 75% susceptible to Shrink, Our boy Phil here hits 3 times with Mini Egg. Each hit has a 75% chance to shrink, pretty much all but guaranteeing success. Bowser gets successfully shrunk and is powerless to stop us as we casually beat him down. I think it's about time for that title match. Rockhawk! He flips, flaps, and slaps. He has 4 attack power, so shrink and damage dodge does the trick. He does have more nasty attacks as he hits certain HP thresholds, but we're not going to worry about that. Let's make this battle one for the Glitzville history books. Turn 1, I shrink Rockhawk first try with Mario. If it didn't end up working, I could have fallen back on using Yoshi. As that wasn't necessary, he could just start charging. Next turn, I use a special move, as requested by our host Grubba, and let Phil go ham charging his power. When Rockhawk recovers, he is staring down an absolute monster. He's already dead. Now it's time to face the source of many of our problems in this chapter. Big Bam Orange Man.
Get out of my way! It's showtime! Macho!
Macho Grubba is all about boosting himself and hitting hard. But he's also relatively predictable. On the first turn, he won't attack and boost himself with the ×2 effect. And when it runs out, he'll always reapply it, not attacking for that turn. Once he has the ×2 effect, he'll start attacking. With the first of his 2 moves, he'll boost himself again. This boost can either be +3 attack, +3 defense, or dodgy. Once he's low enough on HP, he can also charge for a +4 attack. So, how about we use the time he wastes charging his anime powers and his cool wrestling moves against him? Turn 1, I use Clock Out. Grubba is 40% susceptible to stop, making it a 50-50 for Clock Out. It ends up failing, but that's not an issue since he won't stack this turn anyway. Yoshi appeals and restores about half an SP orb because of Super Appeal P, and Grubba boosts himself. The next turn, Yoshi appeals again, giving me just enough SP to try for another Clock Out, and this time, it works. Now we're free to start wailing on him. But when Grubba comes back, he's definitely not low enough for us to defeat him. Is this a problem? Not at all. His ×2 boost ran out on the same turn, so Grubba wastes his only chance to do damage by reapplying it. Back in Rogueport, I decide to beat up Gus. Did I have to? No. Did I want to? Yes. I also pick up Hammerman and Jumpman because they're great badges. Well, one of them is. And if you're ever wondering how I'm making money, just assume I'm selling completely useless badges. Just assume I'm selling completely trash badges. Chapter 4 has no mandatory fights. Cool. Wait. You get the Fen Plus in this chapter, and that is huge. Equipping it will completely protect you from random buckets and stage lights. We also reach Bealistar in the forest. Oh, now we can randomly be at the mercy of fog. That's just so... Oh, TQID. Oh, your mechanics are the best. Do this. What the fuck? He's pretty pathetic. He only has 1 move, and that move does 4 damage. Anyway, speaking of pathetic, Ice Smash. It's bad. When else am I gonna use it? Here's the plan. With damage dodge and P down D up, Koops is 100% safe from doing his attacks. Then he can Shell Shield Mario, and we're good to spam Ice Smash in all its glory. There's just something so majestic about it. A very one-sided battle later, Duke decides our strategy is better and decides to copy it. But he has a tough time reading it through the shell, and he just fails his action commands. Womp womp. The chapter is over.
Brew! Gotcha. Scared you. Scared you.
There are still no forced battles in this segment, and don't fight as Mario alone. We get joined by a and find out Duplis' real name. It's Duplis, with the lowercase p. Now let's fight him. The second Duplis battle is far more interesting than the first. First thing I'll mention is that partner badges do not work. Yeah, they just outright don't. Since Vivian enters mid-battle, the game doesn't apply badge effects. That said, Duplis has a couple of attacks, a 4 damage hammer on the front and a 2-2 jump on either target. You can also do a 2-3 or 2-4 spin jump, but I've honestly almost never seen him do that. Goombella is just Goombella. See head bonks or multi bonks. We'll never see any of the other partners because I can't damage her. Obviously. Alright, here's what I did. The first couple of turns I spend defending. Along with defense plus and damage dodge, that is just enough to block the 4 potential damage. Once Vivian comes in, it is time for Power Lift, baby. It's time for Power Lift, baby. Power Lift is great, but also pretty unreliable. On average, you should only count on ever getting +2 in each stat. You can easily get more, or less, but that's totally up to luck. I got pretty lucky and got a solid +3/+3, making Vivian absolutely safe. If I didn't get the +3 defense, I had a Courage Shell for backup. But with the +3 attack, Duplis kinda melts. And he runs, only being a footnote in our grand adventure. There's a couple of notable things to go over before starting Chapter 5. First, there's new damage dodge available in the badge shop. Second, Podley is absolute scum. Third, I guess that's it really.
Oh no, I shit my pants. Okay, sure.
You get it by now. Enemies are easy. Fun detail, you can move between these bullet bills by using paper mode. Did you know that? Another fun detail, falling to water makes you take damage. Did you know that? Defense plus P. Boss. Cortez is a very unique boss that allows for some super fun creative strategies. He's also very predictable, which is rare in T2ID. Cortez has 3 phases, so let's go over those real quick. In phase 1, he'll follow a set pattern. Stab the front for 4 damage, stab the back for 4 damage, and then he does 4 quick swipes on either the front or back for 2 damage each. Then he repeats. Phase 2 has 2 attacks. If he's at full size, he can do a head slam. But if you attack his bone pile at any point during your turn, he will shrink in size and only be able to charge and attack the next turn. If you hit the pile twice, he'll open up a weak spot that takes 1 extra damage from every hit it takes. Phase 3 is just a nightmare of damage if left unchecked. All of his weapons attack separately. They're annoying to block, and his rapier even pierces defense. Cortez himself has a 4 damage bite and can heal to full once when he gets low. Here are the badges I used. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be good. First turn I bomb with Bobbery, switch to Coops and use a Courage Shell on him, that I conveniently found on the island. Cortez predictably stabs the front and dinks Coops. Next turn I put Coops in the back and attack with both him and Mario. Cortez follows his pattern and dinks Coops again, who's now in the back. Then I switch to Bobbery and defend. Mario attacks. This turn, Cortez can either attack the front or back with 2 damage swipes. Either is fine because Mario's the damage dodge and Bobbery defended. But why didn't I just leave Coops out? He has the Courage Shell up. That is true, but there is an aspect of quick change that I haven't mentioned. The turn count of statuses decreases at the start of your turn. If you keep a partner stashed away in your pocket, their turn count won't decrease, and you can keep the defense for a turn where you actually need it. Or, an even better application, keeping attack power raised forever. Yeah, quick change is expensive, but in this niche, it's kinda wild. So, Cortez does his swipes, timing of which is kind of annoying might I add, and he does no damage. Next turn, Bobbery uses Bomb Squad. You'll see why in a second. Mario switches to Coops and attacks. Cortez repeats his pattern and stabs the front. I switch to Bobbery and Bomb Squad again. Mario hammers and ends phase 1. And now I'm just gonna let what happens next play out. So, Bomb Squad is a vastly unique and interesting move. Playing the game normally, it is never your best option, but it has so many weird applications, it has kind of become one of my favorite moves. Instead of fully explaining the move, I'll just give you a short rundown. Bomb Squad bombs act on a separate turn from yours, making for some very weird interactions on certain bosses and enemies. Here, it also happens to hit both the Cortez's hitboxes. I'll put a link in the description to JD Aster's Super Mario Files article about T2ID's turn structure. And while you're there, maybe check out some of his other articles too. Also, hi, hello, it's me again, while editing. No video this time because I look even worse, if you can believe that. So yeah, this script was written before JD Aster made his T2ID BattleBits Twitter account. It's basically a Twitter account where he's gonna share weird stuff about like battle mechanics, weird interactions, unused things, little known details about Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link to that in the description as well. It's a nice little image format, so it's very shareable and very nice looking. Now on with the video. That said, phase 2 is done. Don't blink, the third phase isn't going to last much longer. There's so much going on in this phase, how about we just don't deal with it? Mario uses Art Attack and, oh boy, this really is a battle of random explanations, isn't it? To do the full 3 damage on Art Attack, you need to encircle 90% of the enemy's hitbox. How can you tell this hitbox? You don't! Usually they make sense, but sometimes they're way bigger than you think. Here's a visual representation of Cortez's hitbox. It's not the worst offender, but it definitely sticks out way more in front than it needs to. Though, as long as you know about it, you should be able to do 13 to 15 damage with it. Then Goombella can come in and finish the job with a multi-bonk, ending the battle before Cortez can attack or heal. End of chat. Nope. Lord Crumb's back with a Boom Bossa Boom Festival. And he's kind of pathetic. He's less resistant to status and weaker than Dupless. That is sad. And this guy outright cheats. How? Well, first of all, he will change his platoon setup when he falls below half HP, even when he's asleep, frozen, or stopped in time. Oh yeah. If that's not enough, when you defeat him, he runs off stage, heals, and comes back. Unlike other bosses with multiple phases, the turn count does not reset. So if you defeat him with your second move, he'll come back and attack instantly with a big ass human ball that does 5 damage to both characters. Third, even though he clearly moves the ball by running on it, the ball will still attack on its own when Crump is status. Cool. So I think the only way to beat a cheater is by cheating. Coops goes in the front and defends, while Mario defeats Crumb's buddies. Then Crumb can either call him back or attack. If he attacks, Coops is safe, and if he calls him back, I just repeat until he doesn't. Then Mario can use Sleepy Stomp. And they also conveniently sell Sleepy Sheep on this island for backup. Once he's asleep, I switch to Yoshi and we start charging. After a couple of turns, Yoshi destroys Crumb. He heals, comes back, and Mario finishes the job, ending the chapter. Alright, this time there's actually quite a few things to talk about before starting the next chapter. You can follow this boat panel and get HP drain. Yes! Then apparently I show me selling it and buying damage HP. We can also upgrade our partners to Ultra rank now, but let's get a couple of more Shine Sprites first. And also that defend plus, because, well, you know, while we're in this room, check this out. Bet you didn't know that. Please, Mom, I just want you to be proud. Now everyone is upgraded. How nice. And let's not forget, Double Dip, my beloved. So late compared to 64. Although, I guess having partners able to use items is kinda like a Double Dip in itself. But Double Dip is still great. And of course, one final thing I have to mention. Now that we have Bobbery, we can finally access Chet Rippo. I know I kept him secret in my 64 no damage run, but here there's honestly no point. Danger Mario is still great, but he is way less useful in a no damage run compared to Paper Mario 64. Why? The main reason being that Last Stand got nerfed hard. Like name suggests, it now activates last, so the total damage after guarding is halved, rounding up. That means as long as you're taking a single point of damage, Last Stand is incapable of lowering damage to 0. Doubling up on close calls is neat. They will give you a 55% dodge rate, but I'd prefer not to rely on those iffy odds. The only absolute benefit is the 2 extra attack on Mario from the single power rush in the game. Unless you farm from enemies, but it's never outright needed, and I think the challenge is more fun without the handicap. Alright, tangents are over. Train. Someone should really clean this place.
What the fuck?
Ayo, check this out.
Wow.
Yeah, someone should really clean this place. Choo choo, Smorg battle. This battle can only be described as just a brawl against a giant tentacle monster. He's immune to all statuses, including burn, which is really rare in this game. Each of his tentacles will attack you for a chonky 5 damage, and the core itself is immune to all damage until you defeat all tentacles. Which might be a mistake, but I'll get into that later on. After one turn of immobility, he'll call back all of his tentacles and attack on the very same turn. All you need to do to make Smorg a complete joke is defense. But the tentacles are kinda hard to guard, and I don't really feel like resetting a bunch, so... Double Dip, my beloved. What? You think I'm gonna use boo sheets conveniently available in the shop on this very train? No. We're gonna use something way worse. Veil. Veil is bad. Bad, 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 bad. Guess I'll explain why it's bad. There's usually a lot of confusion around it. To the untrained eye, Veil looks like an even cheaper version of Out of Sight from Bow. Don't be fooled. Veil is nothing compared to Out of Sight. Out of Sight makes Mario invisible for the next enemy phase and then skips Bow's following turn. Whether you've attacked with Mario doesn't matter. He will always get to act. Veil, on the other hand, hides Mario for the next enemy phase and skips both Mario's and Vivian's following turn. Meaning if you use Veil after attacking with Mario, the enemy will attack, miss, and then just attack again. For those who are still confused what the big deal is, this strategy will make that perfectly clear. Without a sight, this strategy would work without Double Dip. But Veil sucks so bad, I have to work around its shortcomings just to show off a strat with it. First, let's see what happens without Double Dip. Mario uses a Thunder Rage to defeat the tentacles. Smorg becomes vulnerable and will skip his next turn. Vivian attacks. The next turn, the tentacles will come back and attack. But for Mario to get a turn on the next round, Vivian needs to Veil before he attacks. The tentacles return and miss. Good, now Mario can defeat the tentacles again. And Smorg skips his turn. Next turn, the tentacles will come back and attack, but for Mario to get a turn next round, Vivian needs to use Veil before he attacks. You see what this turns into? A safe loop of doing nothing. Without a sight, you'd be able to jump or hammer before going invisible. Small difference, huge consequences. Fuck Veil is what I'm saying. Oh, but you can dodge charged attacks with it. Yeah, for all the Veil fans out there, defend your favorite move in the comments. Thank you. So instead of using Veil and getting stuck, I doubled up a Coconut Bomb along with my Thunder Rage. You can get these by cooking a Fire Flower with a coconut from Keelhaulkey. And only now I can proceed to use my Veil Loop while actually doing some damage. But once Smorg hits 25 HP, he'll enter his second phase. And believe it or not, in this phase, the Veil Loop will actually work. What's the difference? In this phase, it doesn't matter whether you take out the tentacle. All it does is remove the core's 1 defense. Goombella even mentions this in her tattle. So the core being invisible in the first phase feels kind of like a mistake? I don't know. At this point, the battle is basically over now that I can do my epic Veil Loop. Trademark. My attack of choice to take out the tentacle and damage Smorg? Earth Tremor, baby. After a couple of those, there's no need to hide anymore and we can finish them off. We grab our prize in Partially Sanctum and close this chapter. Yeah, you didn't really miss anything. Now let's beat up this big ass robot. You've got to hand it to Crump, his design really improved. Magnus 2.0 has 2 basic attacks that both do 6 damage to both characters. He can summon his fists once he hits 63 HP or below. Both punches can only hit the front and do 9 damage. Once he's at half health, he'll be able to use his infamous audience cannon. Crump isn't messing around this time, but since he has no piercing attacks, defense completely shuts him down. Now that we literally have all defensive badges, I think it's about time to show him off. Purely from badges and blocking, we can negate 6 whole damage, shutting down almost all of his attacks. And with 3 extra defense from Power Lift, not even the punches stand a chance. Not that it matters, since you can easily defeat them anyway. And to make things even worse for Magnus, I lower his defense to 0. Absolutely crumpling Crump in no time flat.
I'm done here.
We grab the last Crystal Star, and our final challenge awaits. Oh no. That's not the 1,000-year door. Fuck. The Pit of 100 Trials. Now we're cooking. And by cooking, I mean panicking. The pit's not a kitchen. I don't think I need to introduce the pit to anyone. Though before starting, I want you to think about this. Whether you're an expert or beat the pit casually once, do you think it is possible to go into the Pit of 100 Trials right now and beat it? 10 items, no super guarding, no luck or dodginess, and a 200 HP boss at the bottom with an 8 damage unguardable attack and an 8 damage piercing attack that hits both characters at once. He's also immune to all statuses except burn. Wow! Feel free to leave your guess in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. Now, the experience. I'm obviously not going to go over every floor. The name of the game is basically defeating every enemy on the first turn. It's not that hard to accomplish, and would be even easier if I went to pick up All or Nothing and P up the down P in Chapter 8. But that will kind of ruin the flow of the video and all, so sorry. You do have a lot of crutches to lean on if you can't defeat a certain enemy loadout on the first turn. So let's go over those. First of all, you can always run away and change your badges around. As long as you keep 1 or 2 simplifiers equipped, you should be able to fill the bar. Second, and this is a major one, Clock Out. Here are all the pit enemies that will guarantee to get stopped by Clock Out. Now here's the ones that have an 81 to 94% chance of being stopped. So quick reminder that Clock Out is only 2 SP. Now your third option, Showstopper. Any enemy that also appears outside of the pit will have a 90 to 100% chance of being defeated from it, except Booze and Amazy Daisies. So, reminder that Showstopper is also 2 SP. After all that, here are the enemies that aren't immediately answered by these 2 options. Lockout is still an alright option, but I wouldn't rely on it. Boos, Dark Boos, and Wizards shouldn't be an issue. They have low enough HP, and you can always rely on Art Attack. And keep in mind, you don't really need to worry too much about your FP or SP. Once you get low enough in the pit, you'll level up really fast, which recovers you to full each time. That only leaves floor 91 to 100. Let's take a closer look at those. Depending on which loadouts you get, you'll have to change your strategy a bit. Ballbullocks and Elite Wizards are no problem on their own. Ballbullocks don't attack, and for Elite Wizards, you have so many defense piercing options, one turn is really all you need. The problem arises when there are different enemies among them. HP is so high, you basically only have one option at that point. Supernova, which costs a staggering 6 SP, nothing to sneeze at. But you'll level up so often, you can pretty much use it every floor. And even if you can't, you can always use
The Scum Strat.
One potential free floor that didn't come up in my run is the 5 Swampires. For those, you can just equip Zap Tap and hold fast. They literally can't do anything. Also, singled out Elite Wizards will always clone. If you burn them, they'll be stuck in a loop of doing nothing. Alright, enough dancing around the subject. Let's go over what everybody was waiting for. Floor 100, Bonetail. Like I said before, he has 200 HP, 240 with his 220 HP heals. He has 8 attack power and 3 attacks he'll randomly choose between. A Stomp, which only hits the front, a Bite, which only hits the front but can't be guarded, and his Breath, which hits both characters and pierces defense. He's immune to all statuses, and there's no way to predict which move he'll use. And I don't think I need to say it, but taking down 200 HP on the first turn is not gonna happen. So, to no one's surprise, the 10 items I brought are Boo Sheets. There's a little problem though. 5 Boo Sheets per character is not a lot of time either. You'll need all the power badges and a decent power lift to even stand a chance. And of course, if you get fog at any point, you better hope you hit those 50-50s. I really didn't want to do the whole pit again. So in order to get the best chance possible, I came up with a plan to stretch out my invisibility turns. Let's see what I did. Turn 1, I Shell Shield Mario with Koops. While this might seem like a waste of a turn, since it only protects Mario from a single attack, it's not. Bonetail only has one attack that hits the back. A Shell Shield guarantees I won't get hit by it. But as long as Bonetail only uses his other 2 attacks, I don't need to reset the shell. And all my Boo Sheets can go to the front character, basically doubling my time. Next turn I swap to Goombella as she double lips a Boo Sheet and a Power Punch I got from a Chain Chomp on herself. Mario sets up a Power Lift and she gets another +2 attack. Just like I did with Cortez, as long as Goombella switches back into Mario's pocket before the end of the turn, she has a permanent +4 attack. With all that set up, we can basically start our loop. If Bonetail uses the Breath, Koops resets the shell and Mario makes sure he stays invisible. Whenever Bonetail uses his other attacks, Goombella comes in, does some big damage, and retreats back to the safety of Mario's pocket. Also, this Boo is a big fan of irony. Anyway, not before long, Bonetail keels over and the dungeon is cleared, having only used 6 Boo Sheets. Some of you might be saying,
Hey, wait a minute. Couldn't you have left after getting the strange sack on floor 50 and gotten 10 extra boost sheets?
yes, I could have. And it would have been a lot less interesting.
I am very disappointed and will unsubscribe.
Okay, I think Frankly waited long enough. So since I literally just beat the pit, I think you can trust me that enemies are not an issue in this chapter. First boss, Dark Bones. Second boss. Something tells me this won't be a problem at all. Gloomtail is honestly a more fun and interesting version of Bonetail. He has a bunch of phases and attacks that I literally cannot do anything against. He is predictable-ish and can be manipulated if you're smart about it. But we just faced the dragon and I'm honestly getting pretty sick of him, so... Gloomtail is 30% asleep, so I get ready to triple hit my 6 sleep sheep to raise my odds of... That works.
Huh?
Wait, frankly, what's going on? Ah, it's the footnote. Whew. Yeah, sorry about that. That really startled me. What do you mean I'm rushing through these bosses? I went through the trouble of getting triple dip, so I'm using it, god dang. This battle is awesome. Groves himself has 3 different attacks. One does 7, one does 6, and one does 5. All of these pierce defense. He can also use a damageless time stop attack, make himself dodgy, or give himself the counter status. He also spawns 4 Grotus X's at the start of battle, and then respawns 2 of them at the end of his turn if any of them happen to be defeated. Each X gives him 1 extra defense, and 4 of them makes him invincible. The X's themselves aren't useless either. They also have an attack that does 4 damage. Main problem though, how are we gonna get around Grotus piercing all defense? Well, this battle is a fun little secret. Some of you may know what I'm referring to. You can attack Grotus' wand, which might cause it to malfunction, making his attack fail. How does it work exactly? That's pretty simple actually. Multiply the damage you do to the wand by 10, and that's a percentage chance of the wand failing. Do 10 damage to it every turn, and he's useless. Problem solved, right? Yeah, but it gets better. There's this one weird trick. All Grotuses hate it. Let's say you want to be smart and use something like Fiery Jinx or Bombast. That will make things too easy, so multi-target moves don't hit the wand. Grotus himself takes priority. Except for one move. Fire Drive. For some reason, Fire Drive overrides the target priority and hits both Grotus and the wand. What's even better? The wand failure odds combine these 2 hits. So a base damage Fire Drive would give it a 90% chance of failure. So yeah, Fire Drive unintentionally counters Grotus. The X's are extremely vulnerable to Gale Force, so they're not an issue either. But of course, as everyone knows, this is the famous Double Trouble battle. Right after finishing Grotus, Bowser falls down and forces another battle. His fire and Cammy's Magic Blast both pierce defense. So, in my hour of need, I thought back to the simpler days of Paper Mario 64. There was no defense piercing to speak of. Defense was absolute king. And I remember how broken Chill Out was. We even used it to do an itemless, damageless final Bowser. Those were the days. Wait. Chill out. Bowser needs to chill. I still got triple dip, baby. He may not be extremely susceptible to freeze, but I like my odds when I can use 6 Ice Storms. So, just like in 64, Bowser gets chilled to death. Oh, I wish Last Stand could see this. No, I cannot get emotional now. There's a demon to fight. Time to fight the Shadow Queen, the final boss. And as it's only appropriate for a final boss, we're going to use a combination of many different strategies. All but one of her attacks pierces your defense, but I feel like we're used to that at this point. The battle consists of 3 different phases. First is a Shadow Peach phase. Once she falls below 90 HP, she'll move on to the next phase, the Invincibility phase. In order to move on to the real final battle, you need to attack this phase on 3 separate turns. After that, she'll politely ask the audience to evacuate and fully heal. We get a big ol' cutscene where everyone cheers on Mario and friends, and the real final battle can begin. The first 3 turns of the Shadow Peach phase are scripted. Turn 1, she'll use a Lightning Bolt. Turn 2, she'll raise her attack and defense by 3. And turn 3, she'll drag either target into the shadows. After that, her AI becomes pretty much random. But I'm not really planning to stick around for that long. Turn 1, I use Shell Shield on Mario. And it's really important to do the action command perfectly. Otherwise, the shell will have less than 8 HP and it can be destroyed in a single turn. Mario Bush eats Scoops. The queen attacks, but cannot hit either target. Next turn she won't attack, so I can store Koops' invisibility by switching him out. Then I simply attack and the queen charges. Then I switch back to Koops and try to get rid of her defense, but the 75% chance fails me. Luckily, this didn't end up mattering though. The queen uses her drag attack and targets Koops. This attack does 3 hits of 6 damage with her boosted attack power. However, even if she were to target Mario, the shell would absorb all the hits and only break once Mario pops back up. And now I'm gonna do something that might look very weird. I switch to Bobbery and set up a bomb squad. You'll see why in a sec. And Mario sets up good old Bob with another boost sheet. The queen attacks and misses yet again. Then Bobbery sets up another bomb squad and Mario deals enough damage to move on to the second phase. Remember how I said you need to do damage on 3 different turns to move on? Also remember how Bomb Squad is a very weird turn priority? Yeah, it completely wrecks the Shadow Queen's invincibility phase. All bombs in front of the Shadow Queen explode, she mocks us, then the bomb behind her explodes, and she mocks us again. Yeah, that counted as 2 of the 3 separate turns. We can attack her one more time on our actual turn, and the phase ends without Shadow Queen throwing a single attack. And with the whole world cheering us on, the true final battle begins. Let's put this lady to bed. Literally. Remember how Final Bowser was immune to all statuses in 64? It would be silly to cheese a final boss with a couple of simple early game items, right? Yeah, TTYD does not believe in that. The final boss has a 30% susceptibility to every relevant status. On its own, this seems fine, but both Double Dip and Triple Dip exist. Even without them, just 2 Sleepy Sheep have a 51% chance of working, which ended up happening in my case. Looks like 1,000 years of sleep wasn't enough. While she's snoozing away, Mario charges his power to unseen levels and stuffs his face with spicy food. A couple of turns later, the Queen awakens and gets but a glimpse of true power. Frozen with fear, she makes one final nonsensical remark before she gets completely shat on into oblivion. And that is the entirety of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door without taking any damage. Guess what? I might have told another sneaky little lie. Remember how I said there was only one power rush in T2ID, making the danger setup kind of unnecessary? Well, if you solve this super simple trouble for Uncle Frank... Why did I write that? You get a gold card. Yay, tube mode minigame. Yay, infinite power rushes. Yeah, bullshit. The earliest you can do this is after chapter 6. It's not a huge deal, but it does completely break the pit, so have fun, I guess. I just didn't want to make the video boring. Bye. Hello everybody. I'm gonna do another post video thank you like last time. So first of all, everybody who made it this far, thank you. It really does mean a lot. Content like this is a lot more work, but also like a lot more fun to create and edit the videos. And I was really surprised by the amount of positive feedback and how many people enjoyed the 64 no damage run. So it really showed me that, you know, it's worth it and people do enjoy the random crap I put out and the dumb editing I do. So everybody who liked, shared, commented, just thank you. It's awesome and it feels great. With all that said, I really do hope you enjoyed this video as well, and maybe you learned something, because like last time, the goal with videos like these, for me at least, is sharing the vast, random, and interesting knowledge we have surrounding Paper Mario, just series in general. And especially with the remake coming, I don't know, it just fires me up more to share all this random crap we know. That's about it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the end of the year and that you make 2024 a great year. Goodbye.